All right, we back on sports. I want to say this right now. I want to start off with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I put it like this. As of late, we have seen these articles that Sam Bradford is going to play out his final year. However, the one article that I've noticed from The Score, out of all places, say that he's going to try and test free agency after his final year. Now, look, all right, we know, as Eagles fans, we know how the media loves to jump on Eagles and they love to, embellish a lot of things. Some of them just flat out lie about players and the organization in general. Now, keep that in mind, Eagles fans. We know how this goes with the media. The Score says that he's going to test free agency, which would say that this guy's already preparing to leave Philadelphia, all right, before his start here in Philadelphia has begun. So that's what they're trying to say. However, when you look at other sites, like ESPN, NFL.com, things of that nature, they don't even mention the fact that he's going to test free agency, which means that maybe The Score is pushing a little bit too much and trying to get you to click on their site. Just letting you know that. So as far as I'm concerned, unless Sam Bradford comes out and says, look, I'm trying to test free agency after the end of the deal, which, let's be honest, people, that's what players do. That's what they do, all right? So for The Score to say something like that, is it a reach? Yeah, kinda. But we know that players always test the market before coming back out. I mean, if you're a big-time player, a big-time franchise player, you're doing well on the team, and the team is doing well in general, to reach that next level, you would know that there's not going to be a free agent testing. You know what I mean? However, in this case, we haven't seen Sam Bradford play a full damn season in a long time. You know what I mean? So, you never know. It could be a train wreck for him this year and say, okay, I want out. Or we could be very successful this year and he says, you know what, I'm buying in. That's simple. So I would put it like this. I think it's a little premature that The Score would say something like that. And I would say don't believe it yet until you see it. Until Sam Bradford actually comes out and says it out of his own mouth, or you actually see the wheels in motion that would lead to that, then I'd say okay. You know what I mean? But until then, The Score, you're a bunch of fucking liars as far as I'm concerned. You should be ashamed of yourself. Every other site, like I said, NFL.com, ESPN, all these other places are carrying it, none of them mention the fact that he's going to test free agency. But like I said, as you know, how players are, they always want that bigger contract, so they go into free agency to see what they can do to test the market. They always do that. So like I said, not much of a it's a reach for The Score to say it now before the season's even started, as opposed to seeing where this is going to lead up and then say something like that, because it does happen. Okay? Now I want to move on. That's right, I want to talk about more football. And this time, it's not just football overseas, you know what I mean? It's not football NFL. No, I want to talk about the LFL. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, I am talking about the Lingerie Football League. Because these girls are hitting. Check this hit out. Just look at this game. I actually had a chance to sit and watch a game between Omaha and Atlanta. And these girls are not playing.
Score, and they have. Too late on that. Here's Heather Hudson on the extra point attempt. Oh, wow. Absolutely clothesline. That was Lauren Ziegler and Dina Wachowski converging. Holy cow, is she still alive? This is the best clothesline I've ever seen. Dina Wachowski agrees. Heather Hudson coming outside, looked like she's going to walk in. That is a classic clothesline. Wow.
If you notice, there were two clotheslines on that play. As soon as the play started, the blocker that was, catching for the runner, which would pretty much be your fullback, all right, clothesline the lineman, but but it didn't hold on, didn't knock her down. And then the clothesline, as you saw, at the collision. Understand, people, that is a legal play in the LFL. Yes, it's a legal play. No flags were called. So it goes to show you this. I'm telling you, these girls play so hard. And I watched this entire game, and I also noticed there's a lot of punches being thrown. After a play, they get all rowdy and they start punching each other. Every once in a while, they'll throw a flag. Yeah, every once in a while. So for every 4 fights that I saw during this game when it came to skirmishes and actual punches being thrown, only 1 flag was thrown for unsportsmanlike conduct. Like, these girls, oh man, but you know what? It's not just that. Look at these plays. The way these women are moving, it goes to show you they do have football experience, and they do know how to hit the gap, and they know how to get away from defenders, and evade.
For Jesse Locklear. And now a 1st and 10 ball at the Omaha 22-yard line. As Dakota Hughes still in the ball game at the midway point third quarter. Now Hughes play action pass. Adrian Purnell in the flat, breaking through the first set of tacklers and walking her way into the end zone. Adrian Purnell doing it on both sides of the ball tonight. What a great athlete. Watch what she does to Hogan's ankle. Breaks her ankle. What a move there by Purnell that takes it in the end zone. Wow. Now Atlanta's offense taking over once again. This is an offense that had scored 178 points, averaging 44.5 points a game. And they're already at the 50 mark. First and 10. The handoff to Nas Johnson, left side, getting past the first and second layer of the defense, cutting back. Nothing but green grass, walking into the end zone.
These girls play so damn hard, and I want to talk about this for a minute, all right? It's not just about athletics. It's about the passion that they show on the field as well. I'll explain, all right? Now, I posted, on Twitter, the results of the actual game, the end of the game. And it was a blowout, as you know, all right? We're talking, what was it, like 50, it was 70 points or something like that to 14? Omaha had not scored throughout this entire season, apparently, all right? So Atlanta, who's in the black jerseys, they wanted to make sure on defense that Omaha didn't score against them. They wanted to keep that going. When Omaha first scored, finally scored, because they only scored like 2 touchdowns on them, right? Compared to 70 points or whatever. When they scored their first touchdown, Omaha, the women on defense were so angry that they gave up, a touchdown, that the coach had to pull them to the side and calm them down. See, that's how it is. See, it's not like the NFL where you get scored on, oh, well, we get the ball back, it's cool. And, us as fans, we're like, all right, just get it back, get it back. No, these women were visibly pissed off because they got scored on. That is passion. I think that the LFL doesn't get enough credit. I understand that people will say, well, look at the way they're dressed because of the fact that, it's a gimmick and it's a novelty league. And I put it like this. When you see these women play, you don't think that. Seriously, it was really quickly, it's like, they got somewhat bikini standard uniform on, but you pass that, you know what I mean? Once you start seeing the hitting and you start seeing the plays, you forget all about that. You really do. And the thing is, it's like, these women, and someone brought this up on Twitter to me not too long ago, these women hit hard. They play hard. They're playing as hard as you see some guys in the NFL do. And yet, they have less equipment on, which is interesting. Maybe they need more protection. I don't know. But then again, maybe that would kill the entire point of the lingerie football league. As you can see, it's not really lingerie anyway. But still, the fact is, these girls deserve more credit than what they're getting. It deserves more exposure than what it's getting. It's absolutely ridiculous that we can have such competitors playing, hitting the hell out of each other, constant fights, you know what I mean? And big runs like this, and you have to understand, it's all an arena football setting, so you get half arena football, but you still get the tenaciousness of hard hitting from back in the days in football. It deserves more credit. It just does. Sorry, but it does. I need to move on. I want to talk about baseball real quick. All right, let's talk about this All-Star game. First off, I don't care about the All-Star game. Home Run Derby. Home Run Derby. I am so tired of Chris Berman. It's gone. I am so tired of that. It's like you've been seeing it for years and years. Are you going to tell me that you cannot update what you're saying? It's the same thing over and over. And I like the fact that they switched it from the 10-out rule to the 4-minute rule. And I say this due to the fact that if you saw the way they were playing when they were hitting those balls, a lot of people would have been out quickly. So it goes to show you that it takes a little bit more endurance than, the 10-out rule. Maybe some guys have been more cautious, but then again, we just saw some guys lay off a lot of pitches until they got what they wanted so that those 10-outs don't run out. In the 4-minute rule, guys were just swinging and swinging and swinging and swinging. That's all it was. They were just trying to get as many as possible before the time ran out. I think that's a better setup. At first, I was just like, I don't know how much I like this. Because everyone's like, oh, I'm cheering because this guy did so many home runs. And the first thing came to my mind was, if that was 10 outs, he wouldn't have even close to that many home runs. But I guess this is what we're used to, you know what I mean? However, the biggest offense during the MLB, the MLB Home Run Derby had to be this fan, okay? Really pissed me off. I need people from the Washington Nationals, okay, your fan base, And I need the Phillies fan base to explain this to me. Like, seriously, I don't know, maybe this guy, I'm going to try and play devil's advocate here for a minute and try to make sense of this. Maybe he lives in Washington and he used to live in Philly, or he lives in Philly and, he lost a bet or something and he had to put on a Washington jersey. Because, let's be honest, if those aren't the cases and he's just walking around with a Washington Nationals jersey on, with a Phillies hat, they're rivals. You can't do that, especially after what Jason Worth said about how he's going to try and stop the Phillies from ever reaching another World Series. You can't do that. That's like me walking around with a Phillies jersey on and then put a Mets hat on. You can't, no. You can't do that. There has to be, I swear, if there's not a real reason for it, that guy is a fucking sucker. That's how I feel. If there's no, there has to be a real explanation for something like that. There has to be. But speaking with more baseball, I don't know if anyone had a chance to see it, but apparently these days, managers like the fist fight. If those didn't see it, let's show that real quick. Let's look at this so-called fist fight, okay? That was more of a fight than what we usually see with these bench-clearing brawls. They're actually throwing punches. So you really can't even get on them as far as I'm concerned. But I'll put it like this. I want to show you, as in comparison to other managers fighting, you know what? This is going to be the Grim Force Flop of the Week. You guys sent me this, and I was like, there's no way you can sit there and do that. So let's get this straight. Managers now want to push each other and fight, and then act like they're dying in the process.
Lass mein Spieler in Ruhe, sag ich dir! Gott, wie bist du?
You serious? And then he gets up and gets back into the action. Here's the thing. When he held his throat and he fell, did you see the one guy? He's like, oh, come on, man. Like, that has to be one of the all-time worst flops I've ever seen when it comes to sports. It wasn't even by a player. Oh, my God. You got to be kidding me. Anyways, I want to move on. I want to talk about what Shaq said not too long ago, okay? Now, for those who don't know, Shaquille O'Neal came out and said that the all-time Lakers would destroy the all-time Bulls by at least 50 points. That's what he said. I'll put the link in the info bar for it. I want to talk about this for a minute. So I want to get the Lakers fans together on this one, and I want to get the Bulls fans together on this one so they can talk about it, okay? Now, if you think about it, when I first saw this, when I first heard about, Shaq saying this, I was like, what the hell's wrong with Shaq? Is he serious? And then I thought about it, and I'm like, actually, I have to agree. Personally, I agree. You got to think the all-time, we're talking all-time, okay, Lakers. So that's like James Worthy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaq, Wilt Chamberlain used to play for the Lakers. You had Jerry West. You had Nick Van Exel at guard. You got to think, all these players at the time. Kobe. If you think about it, the list goes on and on for the Lakers. Magic. Let's be honest. Byron Scott. Orlando Woolridge. The names just keep coming if you think about it. All-time Lakers versus the all-time Bulls. And thing is, I don't think the Bulls can stack up when it comes to all-time. I really don't think so. Of course you're going to put your 90s team out there. Jordan, Kerr, Paxton, Horace Grant. I guess you could put Rodman on there. Rodman, because even though he's with the Pistons at the time, he still played for the Bulls. Rodman, you know what I mean? Pippen. If you think about it, I don't think that the roster for the all-time Bulls can hang with the roster of the all-time Lakers. Now, maybe they wouldn't win by 50. I don't know. That's tough because, as we know, back in the day, Wilt scored 100 on his own. But as we know, the rules have changed. I think that's another thing that needs to be explored. If you're going to say something like this about, they'll beat them by 50, by what rules? Are we talking about today's NBA standards? Are we talking about back in the day, maybe the 90s standards, the 80s standards, maybe further back than that? you have to really go into context with these things when it comes to saying, a blanket statement like, oh, the all-time, the Lakers will beat the all-time Bulls. You know what I mean? So even though we don't, there wasn't that much of much in context and in detail, going on face value, if you look at rosters from all times, the Lakers and Bulls, I would have to say the Lakers would beat the Bulls. And there's nothing against the Bulls, because I don't have anything against the Bulls, but, or a fan base, but, I would think that just given the roster and the level of talent the Lakers had over year after year after year, if you think about that, as opposed to, the Bulls, who, they had a number of talent throughout the 90s, but then they kind of went cold turkey after a while, the Lakers just kept reloading, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. That'd be really interesting to see, though, in a matchup. I guess you can simulate it somehow. But, anyways, I want to move on to more basketball? Now, I want to move on to boxing. That's right. For those who did not see over the weekend, Chavez Jr., that's right, versus Reyes. Now, look, after Chavez Jr.'s previous fight, and we talked about this before, remember, he thought that he won when he fought Fonfara, he thought that he actually won the fight. He thought he won the fight. All right, that's what he said. Now, for those who did not see this whole build-up, because, they had on Showtime an interview before the fight with Chavez, and they asked him, they was like, why did you quit? Because your fans are upset at you that you quit that fight. Chavez said that he felt like he didn't have the power to stop Fonfara, which means that he knows that he needed a knockout. And he was hitting Fonfara with his best punch, and it wasn't hurting, it wasn't phasing him. So he felt he was done. There was no point of going on because he couldn't muster up the power to knock this man out, all right, with his best punch. Which tells me that on one side, he's trying to say that as a professional, he knows when he's beaten. That's number one. But mind you, remember, he said in the interview afterwards, after the fight, post-fight interview, that he thought he won. Remember that? Okay. And another part of me says, you're a fucking quitter. Don't tell me that you're throwing your best punch at this guy, best one-shot bomb at this guy, and that's going to, deter you from stop fighting. You understand that if punches come in bunches, anybody can get a clean shot, a lucky shot, and you knock someone down. You always keep that hope. As a fighter, you keep that in you. You always have, as they would call, a puncher's chance. The fact that the way that you boxed at Fonfara was horrible. Now, for those who don't know, he's got a new trainer since then, all right? Who is Cesar Chavez Jr.? He's with, I believe he's with Freddy Rodriguez now, who does Maidana. Now, here's the thing. When he talked to Rodriguez, he said that, he's got to have at least 3 fights minimum so that people can see the difference in Chavez Jr., right? That's what he said. So going into this fight, once again, Chavez Jr. doesn't make weight. Unprofessional. And then, during the tail of the tape, the announcers are talking about how Chavez Jr. wouldn't tell officials how much he weighed after the weigh-in. As you know, when people try to cut weight, they have to rehydrate. So they come in at least 10 pounds overweight or whatever. But he wouldn't even tell them. He wouldn't. So God knows how big this guy is. So now you have, mind you, this is a middleweight fight. So now you have pretty much a light heavyweight going up against a middleweight. And because he didn't make weight, he had to eat pretty much a chunk of his cash, of his purse, his earnings, that he was going to get that fight. And he had to pay it back because of the fact that he didn't make weight. So, as you know already, this guy didn't make weight. He's making excuses on why he lost the fight and why he quit, right? And now you're going to tell me that you're not going to tell officials your official weight going into this fight. Okay, that's 3 strikes already, bruh. 3 strikes, okay? Now, going into this fight is going on, and Reyes is tagging this guy. Here's the thing. Chavez Jr. hasn't learned anything. I don't know. Look, I understand that Rodriguez said that it's going to take a while. It's going to take a couple fights to break him out of the shell so you can see results. But Chavez Jr. is doing the same thing. He's letting you hit him, and then he says, come on, and he's letting you hit him, and then what he tries to do is get into the corner and throw massive power at you. That's what he does. The thing is, while that did work after a while, Reyes decided, hey, you're going to try to throw power at me? I'm going to get out of the corner before you do anything. So he outboxed Chavez Jr. However, Chavez Jr. was so strong that it kind of hampered what Reyes was doing. And that's the thing. You have to look at it once again, light heavyweight versus middleweight. This is a mismatch. That's what it is. Because this guy can never make weight. It's a mismatch. However, during this fight, all right, Chavez is complaining a lot. And then an accidental headbutt happens. I want you to listen to the commentators. I want you to see how Chavez Jr. acts to being cut.
But that's really been the story over the years for Chavez. Once an offensive juggernaut, but lately his punches, well, it's slowed to a trickle.
They're letting Chavez referee the fight now. He's complaining about what blows headbutts.
The last time Chavez exceeded the divisional average was 8 fights in 5 years ago against Sebastian Civic, who he defeated to become Mexico's first middleweight champion. And Chavez acting like a petulant child right now. Chief ringside physician Manuel Gonzalez inspecting the cut.
You essentially let Chavez referee the round. They let Chavez referee the round.
That's, well, no comments necessary. This is a recording.
Yo, who the hell sits there and complains that they've been cut like that? When you get cut in fights, they keep fighting, do they not? Do they not keep fighting? They don't throw a fit, go into the corner and see how bad it is. Because mind you, they're calling time. It depends on how severe the cut is. As you can see, the cut is not that severe. Guys always get cut. There's blood in their eye and they just keep fighting, right? No. He's going to go to one corner and complain, then go all the way across the other ring and complain and make sure that it's okay. And mind you, he's berating this guy the entire time over an accidental headbutt. And then he's going to pretty much tell the referee he's going to complain enough for the referee to take a point from this guy. So, like Malinaji said, he's refereeing the round. You've got to be kidding me that this is allowed. This is where I have to ask myself and others, are you willing to keep watching this guy fight? Because if you're watching to see him fight, it almost makes me feel like I'm watching just to watch him, hoping that he loses. And I don't want to do that to a boxer. You know what I mean? Oh, you get to the point where I just want to see him lose. And that's not what you want to do. But this guy doesn't give you anything to say, hey, this guy's going out on his shield. He's being a warrior. And the thing is, even when he came out, when he came out to introduce the boxers, he was coming down the aisle, his own fans were booing him because of what happened last time. So it goes to show you that this guy, slowly but surely, is just killing his credibility. I cannot imagine getting headbutted, getting cut. And I understand at one point, the refs will say, time, check the cut. But to sit and bitch and moan, you've got to be kidding me. Fighters fight all the time when they're cut and they're bleeding, they're carrying on, they never complain. They just wipe it off, whatever, and they keep boxing. And you're going to sit here and tell me you're going to throw a fit over that. That's disgusting. Look, if you don't like to be hit, if you don't like because cuts are going to happen, you're in the wrong sport. You really are. I understand that some people are going to be boxing purists and say it shouldn't happen, but when two guys are coming in to throw a punch, clash of heads, it happens. If that's the case, you know what? Maybe Chavez Jr. needs to fight with headgear on from now on. It wouldn't be a professional fight if you did that, but yeah, just fight with headgear from now on if you're so worried about getting cut. That's ridiculous. Oh my God. At this point, like I said, I'm on the fence on whether, hey, it's a Chavez Jr. fight. I'm not watching it. This guy's a joke. Or I can get to the point where it's like, I'm going to watch it, but I hope he loses. And I don't want to become that person. You know what I mean? I don't want to become that person. But it was pretty sad to see that go down. That was probably the worst in the previous 2 weeks of fights I've seen. That's the worst. The fact, and it's so late in the round, too. And like I said, the commentators are even like, this is ridiculous. It's boxing. It's going to happen. And for you to, whatever. I want to move on to more contact sports. I want to talk about MMA. I want to say that MMA had a huge week since last week. All right, since UFC was when McGregor fought Mendez, and then on Sunday we saw the Ultimate Fighter the Ultimate Fighter finale on Sunday. Then on Wednesday We had Frank Mir fight, which he went toe-to-toe and knocked out a young bull. You know what I'm saying? He knocked that guy out. He standing right with him, you know? And then on Friday, we had Bellator. Now, here's the thing. I have to talk about Bellator. Because that card that was lined up for Bellator, people was getting knocked out left and right. They were. They were getting knocked out left and right. Paul Daly was fighting. And when I saw Paul Daly, I was like, Paul Daly doesn't look like the same Paul Daly, you know, like, physique-wise that I'm used to. You know what I mean? But he dominated his opponent. Now, here's the thing. For those who don't understand why I'm bringing up Paul Daly, as you know, the reason why Paul Daly is in Bellator is because he was kicked out of UFC. That's right. Because he took cheap shots at Josh Koscheck. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, this is exactly what happened after a fight with Josh Koscheck.
Daly punches Koscheck at the end of the fight. And look at Dan Mergliotta. Wow.
Paul, are you kidding me? You're professional. Come on. Paul, are you professional? Yeah, I know. You promised me. Promise me.
Wow. That was terrible. Yeah.
Now, during that fight, a lot of people said it was very unsportsmanlike. The frustration was building. Josh Koscheck pretty much handed Paul Daly his ass when it came to wrestling in that fight. Now, mind you, before that fight, Paul Daly was on a roll. You know what I mean? And then, of course, a lot of people said, you know, well, Josh Koscheck, he was favoring about the knee. He was trying to say he was injured. He was trying to get every advantage that he could, you know, to win this fight. And here's the thing. The reason I bring this up is because when Paul Daly, over the weekend, was fighting in Bellator, who shows up to talk about their next fight? Josh Koscheck. That's who. So as you can see, Bellator is really trying to bring this together. They think they're slick. And it's like they want us to keep, you know, well, if we renew rivalries, this is going to happen. So while Bellator was good and fun, I thought that was a little lowbrow to do that. Because it was like at that specific time that Paul Daly is fighting, you're talking to Josh Koscheck. Are you serious? That's what you really want to do, Bellator? I thought it was a little brow from him. But other than that, we will see what Bellator has, in the future. Their program on Friday went really well. It did. I'll say that right now. And of course, UFC, on Saturday? They played on Saturday morning. I didn't get a chance to see it all because I was very busy. But, of course, they put on, you know, their event as well on Saturday morning. You know, so it goes to show you that over the week, we've had a lot of MMA going on. A lot of it. And you know what? Not mad at it whatsoever. Also, Premier, Boxing Champions, also on that Saturday, they had two different fights. One was on CBS, the other one was on Showtime, which I've already talked about. The Showtime one was, you know, Chavez Jr. versus Reyes. So there was a lot of contact sports or martial arts or fighting in general, because you know it's a gentleman's sport, was a lot throughout the entire week. It was almost hard to even keep up on. So, I just want to say it. Also, in more boxing news, just to let you know, Floyd Mayweather is talking about fighting Andre Berto, I believe, on September 12th. And it will be on CBS. That's right, CBS. It's amazing. He's fighting for free, pretty much. Also, well, I won't say for free, but at least the public will get a chance to see it. You know what I mean? Also, Daniel Cormier will be defending his 205, as you know, light heavyweight title against Gustafsson. That's right. And I know a lot of people say, well, why him? But you got to think, he already beat Rumble Johnson. The next guy in line was Gustafsson, so he's going to fight him. So we will see what happens with that. It's been a pretty good week in sports. The PanAm Games, let me say something now about the PanAm Games. This is why this video was delayed from Monday to today. The PanAm Games had such a busy schedule on Monday that it was hard to catch everything. Taekwondo, judo, because the U.S. won gold for judo. The women's basketball team took silver last night as opposed to gold. The U.S. women's basketball team, they had a chance to win against Canada, and then they blew it. You have your best three-point shooter out in the wing, unguarded, and you're down by 6, and you're not giving her the ball. Makes no sense to me. Give her the ball. So, I'm like this. They end up losing, but still, the silver medal is not anything to scoff at. That is a hell of an accomplishment, you know what I mean? Like I said, Taekwondo was there, wrestling, U.S. won wrestling again, swimming, and I don't think they've shown enough diving as far as I'm concerned, but they've been showing a lot of swimming, and it's amazing to see all the other, you know, Argentina, beach volleyball, I believe. Was it Argentina? I believe they won beach volleyball. Brazil? Brazil and Jamaica have been killing when it comes to swimming, I believe. Like I said, I haven't been able to catch all the swimming, but for what I've seen, they've been on a tear. And the U.S. have been coming in second and third when it comes to swimming. Mind you, the PanAm Games, this is what bothers me about the PanAm Games, all right? And it has nothing to do with the actual games themselves, because they actually showed fencing. Like, all these sports that you see, ESPN doesn't show them. They don't. They show only sport. They'll put this. You'll see X amount of stuff from 10 to 12 or whatever. Then we'll stop and show it from 7 to whatever. But then you say, well, if you have ESPN 3 or ESPN 4 or ESPN Ocho, then you can catch all of them at these type of times. And if you don't have those channels, you're screwed. That's what it comes to. So you are missing out on certain events. Here's the thing. ESPN, if you are the worldwide leader in sports, what you should be doing is showing these competitions way before the PanAm Games. As you know, these type of things, when it comes to like the PanAm Games, this is setting up for the Olympic trials. You know, these are like trials for the Olympics to see who goes there. You know what I mean? For the big-time Olympics. However, you have to think, every time you see one of these things, they never show you the meets, like swim meets and stuff like that. They never show you it on, the local levels or the things that they could show you to build up to these events. And that's the problem. You're not showing, like, play this. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the sports stations in general are not showing enough sports. There's so many sports. It's not just, I understand you're going to have your tent poles, your basketball, your football, your hockey, your baseball. I get it. You know what I mean? And your MMA. Okay, I get that. But there's so many other sports that are just not being aired, that are going on. I would love to see Taekwondo, and I know a lot of people say, well, won't you just watch MMA? It's not the same. Under those rules, it's not the same. Judo, it's not the same. You saw Olympic boxing. They had Olympic boxing. I watched Olympic boxing. You know what? Olympic boxing, they were just doing this. They weren't even really like boxing. I saw the women's boxing not too long ago, and the one woman, by the third round, was so tired, she fought with her arms down the entire time like this, hoping to duck and weave. And the one from the U.S. was killing her because of it. Put your hands up. But this is what I mean. You're not seeing these trials, archery and things of that nature. You don't see them enough on other sports stations. Because everyone's following this pattern. NBC Sports, CBS Sports, all these other places, they're following the same pattern with ESPN, where we're going to show you highlights, we're going to try and say some hip things to keep you tuned in, and then we're just going to, sit with the basic 10 poles. You do not need to do that. Fans need to see more. So when you see, fans from overseas talk about other sports, and then they say the U.S. is ignorant on these sports, yeah, because we don't see enough of it. They don't air but so much. Tell me the last time you saw a cricket game. Tell me that. Don't see it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that they show. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. They got to show tennis as well. And you know what? They've been showing a lot of golf as of late. You know what? We already know what golf brings to the table. And, like I said, I'm not a fan of golf, but I know there's some are. I've seen enough of golf, okay? And to be honest, ESPN won't plug it unless it's Tiger Woods, you know what I mean? Or Rory McIlroy. So who cares? You know what I mean? Like, that's how they've set it up. I would love to see fencing on TV. They don't ever show it, though. However, CBS Sports will show paintball competitions. Yeah, they'll show that. But you won't show fencing. You won't show... I would just like to see more. You know what I mean? Also, not too long ago, they showed the CrossFit competition. Was it where, the most physical and healthiest person in the world. That's right. And this has nothing to do with the PanAm Games. You know what I mean? But it goes to show you those CrossFit competitions to show how great physique you are and go through all these obstacles. That's a great thing to see. We need to see it more often. Like I said, when it comes to the U.S. and it comes to actual sports, we're only getting, I'm going to say, at least 10% of the sports that are out there. But if you don't talk about, the big three or big four, then they say you're not a sports fan. Go figure. Anyways, I'm done. I'll talk to y'all later. Y'all be safe, man. I'm out.